Next, it is my deep pleasure and privilege to introduce our main speaker tonight, Mr. Timothy Murray. Tim is a friend of MAVA, a friend of vocational, technical, and vocational education in Massachusetts. Tim is an ally to our cause. Tim served first as mayor of the city of Worcester. He later became lieutenant governor. During that time, he visited every single school in Massachusetts that had vocational programs. At that time, it was more than 60 schools that he visited. And you know the Capital Skills Grant Program that all of us love in our schools that help to provide funds for grants for equipment in our schools? That actually started with Tim Murray many years back. So it is my pleasure. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you Tim Murray.
Steve, you forgot the most important part. Father of two graduates of Worcester Technical High School. But I would note that the recipient or the student being recognized tonight from the city of Worcester is a graduate of, or soon-to-be graduate of South High in Worcester. There we go in the back. And my wife would get mad if I didn't say that because she's an alumnus of South High School. So go Colonels. Well, Steve, thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you and MAVA and the Mass CTE leadership over the years in expanding and improving opportunities so that more students can have the chance to experience a Chapter 74 vocational, technical, or agricultural education. I also want to recognize Keith Segala for his role as the event coordinator for this awards night, as he's done for a number of years now. This is always a quality, a fun event, and really one that's special for the families and students that are being recognized. And I've had the privilege to attend this event over the years in a number of different capacities, and I'm always inspired by the examples of the students, and those bios in and of themselves are just really incredible. And it's a credit to the students, their teachers, and their families. And what I find inspiring in those stories is what these students have achieved. Each of the 55 stories of the students recognized tonight are different. However, the common denominator in your being here this evening is that you came to have high expectations of yourself and what you could achieve. For some, that may have come naturally. For many others, it may have come through the mentorship of one of your teachers on the academic side or in your shop. A teacher that had high expectations for you and held you to a standard of excellence. Still, for many others, it may have been the constant encouragement of a parent or a loved one who had high expectations in your ability to learn and grow while earning your high school diploma and an industry-recognized credential that prepares you for today's fast-paced workplace. My father was a high school history teacher and guidance counselor in the nearby town of Millbury. And as you can imagine, he ingrained in each of his 5 children an appreciation of history. For me, it manifested itself through a love of New England sports teams and their history and U.S. political history. And this Mechanics Hall, historic Mechanics Hall, and the portraits here tell a big part of that history since we're here at this moment. But in both the arenas of sports and history and political history, speeches are a big part of the process. The speech by Coach Herb Brooks in 1980 before the team of underdog U.S. college hockey players went on to defeat the heavily favored Russian team in the 1980 Olympics became legendary after tens of millions of people watched that speech in the movie Miracle. Remember the Titans, Hoosiers, the win one for the Gipper speech, in Newt Rockne All-American in the movie, Friday Night Lights, all ingrained in American culture. Similarly in politics, famous speeches endure for many reasons. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Franklin Roosevelt's first inaugural in the midst of the Great Depression, stating that Americans had nothing to fear but fear itself, and Ronald Reagan's speech in Berlin during the Cold War, telling Russian leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down the Berlin Wall. One of my favorite speeches is a speech from President John F. Kennedy given in 1962 at Rice University in Texas, laying out his vision for the United States space program, challenging the American people to give their best in helping the United States be the first country in the world to land a man on the moon. He said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one we are ready to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win." In that same speech, President Kennedy quoted one of the founders of Massachusetts, William Bradford, who became one of the first colonial governors of the Commonwealth. And Bradford said, and Kennedy quoted him, that all great honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulties, and both must be enterprised and overcome with answerable courage. I share this with you because what you have done, the students, each and every one of you recognized here tonight, you have met the challenge. By choosing an educational experience in a vocational technical program, you said no to easy. You said yes to the hard path, simultaneously preparing through your high school experience for both a career and/or college, so you can choose the best options that will ensure your success in life. You said, "I will measure and organize the best of my energies in an increasingly demanding world where all sectors of the economy face constant change and challenge." You chose to be ready to innovate and adapt and do everything you can to prepare yourself by earning a high school diploma and a Chapter 74 credential that has taught you about the expectations of the world of work. Show up, be prepared, be a team player, be a problem solver, be creative and entrepreneurial, and be kind too. The world could use more of that. And that is why, according to two studies done by the Alliance for Vocational Technical Education in 2016 and 2018, 90% of Massachusetts employers want the Massachusetts public education system to produce more graduates of Chapter 74 Voc Tech programs. It is why, quote, young people enrolled in CVTE schools and programs are less likely to drop out of high school, more likely to graduate and earn top-paying jobs, and are just as likely to participate in college as non-CVTE peers. However, as we gather here this evening, Governor Healy and the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is looking to water down and further retreat from the Massachusetts tradition of setting high expectations and doing hard things, like setting high educational goals of achievement for our students. Leaders who passively watched Massachusetts from having a nationwide leading common standard to measure student achievement across the state now want to eliminate all standards such as grades, student attendance, and behavior as criteria for admission into Voc Tech programs, because the success of Voc Tech education has created waiting lists across the state for Chapter 74 programs. Instead of bold leadership and long overdue investment utilizing the fair share tax revenue for our Voc Tech programs that would eliminate waiting lists and provide access to all students and families that see the benefit of education that empowers students for both career and college. That is an option, and yet that's not being chosen. We are retreating to a position that continues to create winners and losers rather than giving every student and family that wants access to Chapter 74 programs the ability to get in. And when we do that and don't give that full access for all students, by making sure that we are investing and expanding these Chapter 74 programs while maintaining the highest levels of quality, we diminish Massachusetts' ability to compete for jobs in the industry sectors of the future. Accordingly, as beneficiaries in this room and advocates of our Chapter 74 programs, I ask you humbly over the course of the next few days to go to the website and I guess some of the representatives of this coalition are here. There's some cards, I think, that are out there, but MA Voc Tech, and that's VOCTECH Coalition, all one word, MAVocTechCoalition.org, and read about what is taking place. And if you're so inclined, ask Governor Healy, her Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and your local legislative leaders not to water down our expectations and hopes for students and create winners and losers with a lottery system, and instead ask them to commit to dramatically expanding Chapter 74 programs across the state so that we can have more special evenings like tonight, when we celebrate students that embrace hard challenges, that prepare them and our state for better tomorrows. Thank you, and congratulations.